Right, thank you, everyone. Some of the other roundtables are just finishing up as well, so I think people will slowly and surely be coming back in. But we'll keep the ball rolling. We've got the room till 6, so we'll keep the agenda going. I just wanted to welcome Karen Brooks onto the stage. Karen's going to be the MC for the next few hours, taking us through to the close. She's head of scale up at Set Squared Partnership, one of our closest and dearest partners. So, Karen, I'll welcome you on stage.
Thank you, Charlie. Good to see that we've still got a few people here that have not run away from us. And we've got an exciting last few sessions for you, definitely in my space, which is venturing and innovation. So I'm Karen Brooks. I'm the head of Scale Up for the Set Squared Partnership. And I actually set up Set Squared 20 years ago. When people didn't know what incubators were, they couldn't spell entrepreneurship. And now, you know, all this time on, we've got this great community of CVCs. We've got loads of investors, and we support now over 800 companies. And we've helped them to raise over 4 billion of investment. So, you know, we've really spent a long time helping companies to get started, get that investment. And what we're really keen on is working with people like yourselves in the corporate venturing community to help get access to those companies and help them to understand more about their market, more about what they might be relevant to you, how they might be relevant to you, and maybe doing the investment. And hopefully some of you saw some of those companies yesterday where we had 20 of them here for you. So without further ado, I have a lady here, Sarah Landsted from Maersk Growth, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that balancing act. Now, I've had 6 universities that I've been working with for 20 years. So I know that where you're bringing these ecosystems together and a number of different partners, she's definitely going to be able to tell us how balancing act is so crucial. And I'm hoping to learn from you. So Sarah, welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon. Good. I'll start again because there were a few people that joined here. Greetings, everyone. Thank you, GCV, and this great community for hosting. I'm Sarah Landsted. I am operating partner at Maersk Growth, and I run the teams who focus on value creation and insight sharing. And I'm here to talk about strategic value creation between startups and corporates. Before we dive in, a little bit about me. It's really late afternoon, and we've all been going at it for a while. So to shake things up a bit, I'm not going to give you my bio, but I want to share some of my key passions. My family is one. Mountaineering is a more recent one. This is me in October at the summit of Mera, a peak in the Himalayas. Rasmus in the middle is a Danish mountaineer. He's a friend. He was also the guide. He also was the first Dane to summit Mount Everest, which you see in the background, without the use of supplemental oxygen. I have no ambitions of achieving that same, so I'll leave that with him. But I have another passion I also want to share with you, which perhaps some of you share. I love chips. Crisps, potato chips, I'm not too picky. The truth is I have no limits when it comes to this salty wonder, but I do have favorites. Like when I'm here in London, it is salt and vinegar, nothing else. Thank you again for having me here today. To get us started, I'll just share a little bit about who we are at Maersk and what we're trying to accomplish. Traditionally, many of you probably know us as an ocean carrier. It's the container with the blue star. That remains at the heart of our business. But today, we are in the business of connecting and simplifying supply chains end to end. We work across logistics and services, ocean transportation, and port terminal operations. Our aim is to provide transport solutions for our customers, enabling them to transport goods anywhere in the world by offering simple end-to-end solutions of products and services, seamless customer engagement, a superior end-to-end delivery network, while taking out the complexity of global supply chains. It sounds easy enough, right? In addition, we're driving the green and technological transition for our industry, which remains one of the few largely undisrupted industries left. Our technology today and in the industry in general is archaic. On the green front, transport and logistics emits 3.5 tons of CO2 every year. We contribute to about 1% of this total, which is why we very publicly have committed to being net zero by 2040. Trade is everywhere. If you look around you, many of the objects in this room came from somewhere else. Every day, we move almost 20% of global trade. That is 12 million containers a year for 100,000 customers. Okay, that's Maersk in the helicopter. Let's talk Maersk Growth. Maersk Growth is our venture arm, where we engage with the external innovation ecosystem and work with talented startups and visionary innovators to learn from and with the innovation ecosystem around what the future could have in store within transport and logistics. At Maersk Growth, we go to work to digitize, so leverage technology, to democratize, i.e. bring trade to more players, especially SMEs, and to decarbonize, i.e. drive the green transition for our industry. The reason we exist for Maersk is to drive strategic value, which is what we'll talk about today. But what is strategic value? When I joined as partner, it took me some time to grasp what this really meant, because the way strategic value was talked about in the corporate venture ecosystem was very conceptual and very fluffy, to be honest. My goal today is to make it tangible from a Maersk lens. So, the way we define strategic value add for Maersk is through collaboration and through insights. Operational collaborations are where a startup we work with is a supplier to Maersk, but we also do commercial collaborations where we co-sell. So that could, for example, be a trade finance offering that we test on Maersk.com, which is the world's largest B2B site, or something along those lines. For transparency, 90% of the collaborations we do with startups are operational. We also drive value by providing insights in a structured and synthesized manner where we share views on trends and strategic spaces, bases our ecosystem engagement, which could be relevant for big Maersk. However, to get, you have to give. So we also speak very openly about the value we provide to startups. We call that the Maersk Growth A, B, C, D, E. The A is our asset base. We have hundreds of vessels, warehouses, ports, trucks around the world. And it's, of course, a state-of-the-art platform to test things physically. We have a big and powerful brand if you are a startup in the supply chain and logistics space. We have 100,000 customers. So we have customers in every geography, in every industry of all shapes and sizes. Interestingly enough, on the customer front, initially when we engage with startups, it's the direct customer introduction that they're after. But what we found, especially for earlier stage players, is that actually sometimes it's much more relevant for them to talk to our sales guys. That could be, for instance, the other week we had one of our portfolio companies that they're starting to get thinking about going into the German market, and they met for half a day with our area sales team there and basically came out of that meeting afterwards and said, I think we've just shared a year of stupid mistakes, because clearly there are these 10 lists of things that you can never ever do in Germany if you're serious about being in logistics or supply chain. So sometimes it's not actually the direct link, but the indirect link that we found creates more value. Our data. We cover, as mentioned, almost 20% of global trade, so we sit on vast amounts of data. There are many startups that are very interested in this to train their algorithms, etc. I'll share with you that this is one of the trickier ones, because we're also trying to figure out as a company what we want to share, what we don't want to share. Do you share everything? Do you share select portions, etc.? And it's not really, no one has quite cracked it yet in supply chain and logistics. So we're all trying to find our way, which is basically testing and trialing as of now. Last but not least, I have 100,000 colleagues. So we have deep industry expertise, again, across geographies and small and large plays, etc. Funnily enough, we did not structure this as A, B, C, D, E initially, but then one of our students, who's a very smart cookie, was like, guys, like, why don't we just do this alphabetically? It's A, B, C, D, E. Good. Before we get into the practical examples, I cannot stress this point enough, at least from our perspective in Maersk Growth. To get, you have got to give. Of course, there's always a balance, and sometimes you give more and sometimes you take more, but we often have the upper hand because we're big. But it will not work if we're not giving tangible value back. And that new entrant that right now is very small might sit on the magic key to part of our future. Good. Let's start talking shop. I have 3 examples I would like to share with you of strategic value we have driven in the last 12 months. The first one is Enride. This is the Wall Street Journal on March 24th of last year, where we announced a partnership with Enride, which is a Swedish startup, to deploy 300 heavy-duty electric trucks in North America from this year onwards. It was the largest heavy-duty electric truck deployment to date when we announced, and I hope and believe it still is. It is one of my proudest Maersk Growth moments. Enride is a Swedish scale-up and a leading freight technology player, providing digital, electric, and autonomous solutions to heavyweight trucking. As I shared a couple of minutes ago, we have a very big commitment to decarbonization. We have significant pull from our customers for sustainable solutions, and the regulatory changes are really starting to come into play in terms of subsidies and grants that will help us all drive the green transition. And we wanted to really lead this shift. The key challenge, without going all truck nerdy on you, is in terms of going to electric today, is that it's really expensive. The infrastructure is not in place, and the hardware, so the trucks, are 3 times the price of a diesel truck without grants. Enride and we shared the view that someone would need to make a real move to get the transition going. We had the operational expertise to operate in the US, and we have the customers. Enride came with the expertise in going electric in a cost-conscious manner, with the key enabler being tech. So we had huge shared potential. But I'll tell you, it was not a match made in heaven. We are huge, and we are old. We're over 100 years old. Enride is young, and they're sexy, and they're a tech company. It took a really long time to get this done. And there were many in Maersk who felt uneasy making such a big commitment with a 5-year-old company. I'm not sure all of them are convinced today, but my view is that if you don't make bold moves, you will never drive real transition. We're still only getting started, but now we're a year later, and the markets are definitely not with us, but we are live in LA and in Chicago, and we'll be on the East Coast later this year. Good. Another tangible example is that a year and a half ago, one of our execs mentioned if there was a way that she could get a more structured flow of knowledge and insights that we got from the engagement, both with other CVCs, but also with startups and with investors in the ecosystem, et cetera. And we sat down and discussed how to best do that, and actually realized that not that we sat on a wealth of knowledge, but that our knowledge sharing of that was quite sporadic. So we set up an insights practice, which I call our think tank. It is a team that is dedicated to following supply chain and climate tech trends. They do that by studying investment patterns, across sub-industries, our customers, competitors, and also some select big tech players. They synthesize these for our top leadership in regular reports, and they also do thematic deep dives, one being on electric trucking, but generally on new technology or business models where we see that this is something that they need to be aware of in some shape or form. And here you can see a lot of different splits that the team does. Basically, the goal is to provide our senior leaders with the latest trends from the startup and VC ecosystem, to have awareness of early signals of relevant business models or strategic spaces that could be relevant or that they would want to know about. So essentially identifying tomorrow's challenges and future threats today. However, we also wanted to make these insights available to all of our colleagues, not only to our leaders. And to make that happen, we have built 2 interactive Power BI dashboards that basically provides everyone access to our full startup investment database in the split which is relevant for you. So if you work on in North America and you only work with retail, you do that split, and so on and so forth. The team is developing it every day, but it's in-house built, and they're not software engineers, but it's 1,000 lines of codes. It covers over 20,000 deals, 6,000 companies, 13,000 investors, 40 of our competitors, and 200 of our biggest customers. And it is super easy to use. Good. So the first 2 examples of how we drive strategic value is something we put thousands of hours of work into. This third and last example that I wanted to share is something we took from idea to execution in a matter of weeks. Last month, we hosted an AI panel on how generative AI will transform supply chains, where the moderator was our chief data officer, and the panel was 4 of the startups we work very closely with, where the founders are experts on what lies at the forefront of technology, but especially when it comes to AI. The questions we discussed were basic, from what is it that has changed over the last 6 months in terms of why is generative AI suddenly everywhere. It was also a very open discussion about what potential it has for supply chain and logistics, but also the challenges and what we should be aware of. And last but not least, on how corporates and startups can work together to really drive innovation and growth when it comes to generative AI. We host these sessions regularly to build knowledge and awareness of how technology is contributing to our strategy as a company. And these sessions are open for everyone to join. For this particular one, we had 100 in the room, but then 400 joining online from around the world. We're headquartered in Copenhagen, but we always try and not make it too Copenhagen-centered. It's a really great way of building the bridge between corporates and startups and broadening the views for both sides on the power of collaboration. With that third and final example, I hope I have provided both transparency but also some tangible examples of how we look at strategic value in Maersk and how it translates into practice for us. I want to thank you for having me here today. I am always available and happy to spar and discuss, and you all have the advantage now of knowing the real way to my heart.